This time, I'm working on more of a passive creature instead of a monster. Small, maybe around British Bulldog size or a bit larger. Maybe the build of a Bulldog too. The legs always seem to take me forever, so after randomly looking up different animal legs, eventually I landed on the bone structure of a hippo of all things, and the feet seemed like they would fit too. So, I replicated the skeleton to mess around with that idea. This longer one was starting to look too much like a naked mole rat. I did like the scrunched up version, but it was a little too scrunched up. Then it came time to decide whether it had fur, scales, bare skin, or whatever else. The reason why certain mammals have fur, while some, like hippos, don't, is basically that fur serves as waterproofing, thermoregulation, protection, a means of sensing, and camouflage. Reasons for being hairless is, well, to keep cooler and hotter climates. Hence why hippos and some others don't have fur. These are a grassland dweller, which might be hot sometimes, but is usually more on the temperate side. But I haven't totally decided on that yet. So the options are narrowed down to mammal or reptile. Cold-blooded creatures can't thermoregulate, so they live in warmer places and bask in the sun. They hibernate in the cold and such, and lie around a lot, and can't use up too much energy. There's just too many issues for what I want these to be doing. So mammal it is. I don't know what that means for these turtle-like jaws, but I think that looks alright. If I'm getting any of these animal facts wrong, 1, I'm deeply sorry, and 2, it's for fictional purposes, so yeah. I was thinking I wanted them to be somewhat of an earthy tone, as far as color goes. Brown mixed with grays, I was thinking, or maybe just a gray-brown like this. And I ended up deciding to go with a little bit lighter, a lighter bit of a mix. Here looks almost like Diego from Ice Age. That was a bit of the reddish in there. I like the idea of the males having a bigger patch of fur going along. I guess you could almost say it was kind of like a bison. And I thought that either there could be 2 different versions based on where it lives, like maybe it doesn't just live on the grassland, or maybe it's a totally different fur pattern and color for the female. So then, here's the main thing about this creature is I wanted it to have some sort of vehicle that it created, vehicle in a rudimentary sense, that it went around in, kind of like a mobile den. And the initial sketch was that it had this wheel that it constructed out of some material it created with his mouth. I don't know. I was trying to figure out the size of these things compared to what some type of wheel would be if I went with a wheel. So compared to a human, let's say a 6-foot human, I wanted them to be pretty small so they wouldn't be that much of a threat. So maybe 2-3 feet. I ended up deciding on 3 feet. But then I was thinking, well, what does that mean if they're inside this huge wheel? And here's a little top down of what I initially thought it might look like. Maybe there's a pair of them side by side in there. But then the problem became that this just seemed a little too complex for a non-sentient creature, animal that wasn't necessarily intelligent. And so after talking with some people, a friend said that it could be a ball instead of a wheel. Really dug into the wheel part, which I agreed with. He had correct criticisms. And again, these are sketches that I came up with a while ago, and it's just I do the sketch and then I go back and look at them again. And I think that was a good idea to change it from that to a ball. So almost like a reverse dung beetle where instead of pushing it around, he's inside it like a hamster ball. Or a hamster wheel, but a ball instead. The original idea was more like a hamster wheel kind of thing. I think a ball is a lot better. And I decided the diet would probably be just things we would find lying around, like berries, nuts, and such. As I said before, a grassland would be either its only habitat or the main one that you find them in. Maybe they could be in some other winter environments with that other fur, but I do like the idea of it being a male-female, different fur colors. They aren't going to be necessarily everywhere on these plains. And these plains are a decent part of the center of this continent that I'm building. A lot of people in the story call it the Vast, just because it's such a vast stretch of land. And it's got towns throughout and various ravines going down into the earth. And there's just a mix of creatures that either dig into the ground in shallow burrows, kind of like, let's say, a fox would or something underneath a tree or such. And then others like this that have, its den is around here. And these things are pretty sturdy. They could definitely be broken, but not easily. So it's kind of the idea of a armadillo or something being protected. They just hop in these things, and whatever's trying to get them, whatever big monster, is just kind of confused and just struggling. And maybe they would have some kind of natural predator that knows exactly what they're doing and just reaches in and snatches them. I do like the idea of having it be a little family here. So you got the dad out there, the male, looking out over the edge, maybe communicating with those guys down there, or he's just making sure they back off away from his kids or whatever. So as I said before, nuts or berries, I decided to have these be some kind of berry bushes here. As far as the family goes, I think they'll probably do something like maybe the mom creates these little pockets inside the ball to put them in because they can't really be bouncing around in there. And maybe something in their physiology allows their brains to be okay with the constant spinning. Or maybe they are just free to roam around in the ball, but it's the parents, at least at first, that do all the rolling. And I do think that, let's say they're starting out their own families, one would have a smaller ball, and then they'd eventually deconstruct it and make it bigger as they get a mate and so on. Just some ideas I might go with here. One of the main difficulties I came across is in the concept sheet and even the original sketch, there was a profile view. And I need to stop doing this, but I made it in just a profile view. In the future, I do need to start making a turnaround, I think, because for some of these, especially that initial sketch of that female coming out of it, it's very much not looking like the same thing. I mean, it looks kind of like the same thing, but the face and stuff is just very off. That was the thing I had to figure out, is just how it looks actually almost head on or at that quarter turn. I definitely think I probably could have left the little baby here alone, because it definitely lost a lot of its cute factor of the initial little sketch up I did. But that's okay. So here was the difficult part of figuring out what this would look like. Kind of quarter turned. It's still almost profile, so it's kind of cheating. I don't know. But it definitely looks better than it did initially. It's kind of hard to replicate that profile. I got something I was pretty satisfied with in the end. So yeah, thank you so much for watching, and I'll maybe do some actual character designs in the next couple of videos, but I think in the future I do need to incorporate a little more perspective and such into these illustrations. And let me know which you want me to focus on more. Doing the concept sheets or these illustrations, or maybe you like this mix of both already. Or maybe I should have separate videos. One about just the concept and the design of the creature, and then one of just the time lapse, maybe with voiceover, maybe with music. Let me know what you think. Again, thanks for watching. Please subscribe if you don't mind, and I'll catch you later.